Hi, everyone. I'm here with another edition of our YouTube show. I'm here with Eric Roussin from Canada. Eric, thanks for joining us.
No problem. I'm happy to be here, Riccardo.
Yeah, and today we're gonna flip the script, so to speak, and Eric is going to be interviewing me. So, Eric, what do you want to talk about today?
One thing that I'm interested in, and I know a bit about it, but I think would be interesting for the listeners would be to talk a bit about the history of Armlifting USA and how it came to be. So, if you're up for talking about that, let's talk about that.
All right, let's do it. Well, the history, it's very, I think it is. I agree with you. It's going to be interesting. So, a little bit about my competitive history. I was a collegiate track and field shot putter and discus thrower. I also played basketball. So then, after I got older and graduated, I started doing powerlifting, and then I did some Highland Games in addition to track, and then I tried strongman. And through strongman, I met Ode Haugen. So I drove down and trained with him a lot. And then I got injured a few times, like everyone who does strongman. And then, my kids were really little at that time. So I spent a lot of time with them, and I still was competing, but I didn't, mostly in powerlifting, because that was like every 3 or 4 months you could do a meet. So it wasn't until 2014 that Ode called me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm having this grip contest in San Jose. Why don't you come do the San Jose Fit Expo?" And then I was like, "All right, let me come down to your house," because he lives 2 hours away. "Let me come down and train for it and see what it's all about." And I immediately found out I was above average at it, and I liked it. And then we went to the contest, and I did well. And I thought, "Oh, wow, this is good." And then he invited me to compete in the 2015 LA Fit Expo, where, believe it or not, viewers at home, I tied Martins, a very young Martins Lisis, on points and beat him on body weight. He weighed 278
Wow.
pounds. So, he's young at that point, under 300. And I was 271. And we tied in lighter body weight one. So I beat him. That probably won't happen again unless Martins is in a wheelchair. But anyway, um, the point is, I really started liking it. And then in 2016, I saw the APL had a world championships in Russia. And they had three really good super heavyweights lifted that. They had Kirill Sarchev, um, they had Mikhail Koklyav, and they had Andrei Malanichev, all these famous, huge power lifter, strongman, Olympic lifter types lift. And I was like, wow. And Ode went over to that contest also. And a young Roman Penskovsky beat them in the Rolling Thunder. And it was a lot of big lifts happening. Did you attend that APL championships in 2016?
That was my first APL. That year, I was the only Canadian, and I don't think Ode was there that year. I think he went the year before because I'm pretty sure I was the only North American competitor.
All
But it
right.
was
Well,
something else to see Kirill Sarachev, who I knew was the world bench press record holder at the time. It was pretty impressive.
yeah. So that was quite a production. So then I maybe O didn't go that year. Maybe he went in 2015 when it was
Right.
quite a bit smaller. And so I was like, well, I got to find out more about this. So I did some talking to Ode, who did some calls and networking, and then he put me in contact with Dmitry Suhavarov, who runs the APL. So naturally, Dimitri didn't know me from, I don't know, didn't know me from anyone, but he was like, "Yes, if you're friends with Ode, you can come." So then I also talked to Ode, and he was like, "Well, we better invite Clay." So we got Clay Edgin, who was very talented and been doing grip stuff since he's a teenager with grippers, frying pans, all kinds of great, and he's a huge guy. So I was like, all right. So we all got together and we called each other back and forth, and we all were like, all right, we're gonna go. We're gonna be Team USA for this thing. And then I started calling you on the phone, right? Because
Right.
um Ode had mentioned you, and then I called you on the phone. I got to know you, and then you were going, and so I asked you questions about the 2016 meet, and then in the 2017 meet. Well, you can talk about who we met there. Who do we meet at the 2017 meet?
Well, we met a lot of people. I don't know which who you want me to mention though first, or
Well, I think that was our introduction to Arto. I don't know if you'd ever met him at that meet
he
before.
was at Ardo was at 2016.
Oh,
He
he
did it.
was.
Yeah, that's so I had met him the year before. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously we became friends with the huge personality of Arto Juronen from Finland. And then he had just a very small team with him, Juha
Right.
Letamaki, who was really good, mainly at the bending of the steel. I think that's what he's best at, but he's a very good lifter. And we then Alexei was there, and Roman was there, and we got to meet a bunch of other Russians and Ukrainians, and it was a different. I had never been to um the whole Russian culture. It's quite a fanfare that goes along with it, different than the US and Canada, I think.
Yeah. It is
Yeah,
definitely a culture. It was definitely a culture shock, but I really enjoyed my experience in both 2016 and 2017 because we were really treated very well. I mean, they were
very
so
well.
happy. They were so happy that we came to this event. So it was great.
Well, I think in hindsight, looking at it at that time, there were like three or four arm lifting federations in Russia, including the Salurikov League that uses those implements. They
Right.
use the Iron Mind implements. Then
Right.
other offshoots of powerlifting federations that included arm lifting, and so it was really growing in the Eastern Bloc. So I think it added a lot of legitimacy for them to get North America,
Right.
the North Americans there. So at that event, Oda and I and Clay went out to dinner one night, and I was like, Ode, we have got to bring this to North America. We have got to make this instead of just your LA Fit Expo invitationals, which are wildly successful, right? Besides you, that's how we met Carl in 2017. We met Cali Lane. I met him in 2016. He'd already been coming to the US. So, Mark Felix, I didn't get a chance to compete against Mark Felix, but I think you have, or you've seen him at the meets.
But I competed 2014 LA Fit Expo.
Right. That was just
Yeah.
before I got involved.
Right.
Yeah. And so Mike Burke had been at those. So a lot of
Yeah.
like the icons of
Yeah.
doing things that in some ways still haven't been done were at these contests. So I was like, we've got to capitalize on this. We saw what the Russians can do. We can do just as well, but a little different in the States. And so we started talking about it and planning it. And Ode has all the business skill, right? Because Ode has a master's in business from Berkeley. Ode has his various companies. His own gyms in Hawaii. He owns the training hall. He has a very good business sense and he has the knowledge. Whereas me, it's just a regular old high school teacher. I'd never started my own business before. So I was taking copious notes from Ode at the time, learning about how do we organize this thing and things like the insurance and the membership and this and all these things I didn't know anything about, but I was listening.
Right.
So then we decided, okay, and I did a lot of work to make it happen. I designed the website and started all that stuff. And then it was live. Armlifting USA was born for the January 2018 Fit Expo. And the first contest that we hosted that was not at a Fit Expo was actually in February 2018 at Clay Edgen's gym Santa Cruz strength. And Arto actually came over for that from Finland. I know, I picked him up from the airport,
Oh wow.
and yeah, I roomed with him. Didn't sleep very much. He's not a quiet sleeper, Arto. So yeah, but I roomed with him to defray his costs, and we had a lovely time. He's a fantastic guy, individual, obviously, and that's how it all started. We wanted to bring what we experienced in Russia and make it better back to 20 back to the US in 2018. So it all started in 2018. So 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 were, halfway done, a little more than halfway done with year 6 of Armlifting USA. So it's pretty exciting.
And there were a few years in there where there was less happening because of COVID, obviously. So that was the one that was the year I was returning to Russia in 2020. I don't remember. I don't remember if you were as well, but I know many of us were going, and then it. Well, we know what happened.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
COVID.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna go, but let's still stick in 2018 because there's a
Right.
lot to talk about. In
Sure.
in 2018, we started to identify lots of people who were on board and wanted to promote meets. And we got people out of retirement, discovered new people, discovered fantastic, strong athletes in the process, and that became some of the nucleus for Armlifting USA today. And in fact, of course, you were one of the pivotal people. You started promoting some Armlifting USA meets in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
started the leaderboards and the record boards and the season rankings, which everyone has been very keen to get on.
Right. 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 No, it's
And
been great.
those, go ahead.
I was gonna say. Well, maybe I don't want to jump ahead, so let's stick on 2018. But
Of course.
yeah.
So in 2018, we had a number of meets. Um, and then I decided not to go to Russia in 2018 because Arto started his Bonehill grip contest.
All
And
right.
I was like, I've already been to Russia. I want to go to Finland because honestly, in my travel, just my own personal life, I grew up kind of poor. I did not travel internationally at all as a kid, ever. I didn't travel much domestically in the United States as a kid. So I made it a priority. I was like, all right, I want to go see Finland. So I went to see Finland. Beautiful, beautiful country. Helsinki is a beautiful city, a lot of really cool, like 1700s, 1600s architecture, really clean city. Now, I went in August, right? So it wasn't like freezing. It was beautiful weather. Where Arto lives is an hour and a half outside of Helsinki, where the Bonehill contest is. It's beautiful. All these trees everywhere. I've never breathed cleaner air in my life. It's so, so relaxing. So it was very nice to go to that contest and participate in it, and something I'll never forget. But in Russia that year in 2018, I think only Clay Edgin and Dolly Zhang went from the US
I see. Okay.
because I didn't have the money to do both.
Okay.
I couldn't swing it. So remember, high school teacher, not millionaire. So I couldn't swing it. So I had made a conscious choice. I'm gonna go to Finland. I'll forego the world championships. Oh, meanwhile, at the 27 world championships, to give Odin Clay some credit, Team USA won the bronze medal at the team contest
Right.
with just 3 people.
Right.
Ode, I think, won 5 gold medals. Clay won a smattering of all color medals. It was a very impressive performance. I contributed, unfortunately, 0 to the team scoring because I wasn't good enough. And that really provided motivation for me to go back to Russia and to win some hardware of my own. But we'll cover that later. Um, so that was just a little nugget I forgot about the 2017. It's pretty impressive that they could win. Because Russia got first, Ukraine got second. and Odin Clay, aka Team USA, got third.
Right.
Very impressive performance. I mean, I think Clay won the silver bullet. The hub, he was Ode was winning Rolling Thunder and Axel and right up there in Saxon Bar, and is very, very, very just outstanding performance by those
They
guys.
they I mean, Ode, no matter where he goes, it's up. People are always amazed. But I remember with him, which at the time I guess he was like 67 or something,
You're right.
winning 5 gold medals. I mean, everyone was in awe. Everyone couldn't believe it, you know. So he was the king.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, and he had extensive photo shoots. We were all signing autographs. I'm sure you were too.
right,
We were really the Russians were really, really hospitable, so nice and welcoming. St. Petersburg's an amazing city too, by the way. Let's be
right,
honest. That's a
right.
very beautiful, very old city with so much history and a really cool, just beautiful place. Amazing. Um, did you ever visit the Winter Palace there and the Peterhof Gardens at
I
the
did,
St.
yeah,
Petersburg?
I
Yeah,
did, yeah,
it's breathtaking when you realize that that's all real gold
right,
on all the palaces. For anyone who doesn't know what it is, just look up Winter Palace in Peterhof Gardens. And if it's a sunny day, the glinting, the sun hitting all the gold and illuminating it, you won't see anything like it in the rest of your life, I think. I don't believe there's another view like that that's
right,
just from the garden there that's just tremendous. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, but then 2018, Clay and Dolly went over there, and Dolly Zhang is a great ambassador, a great guy, super nice. And again, Clay and he made a lot of friends. And then for the second year, I think 2019, the second year of Armlifting USA, that's when we decided, all right, we are going to have a Team USA. We're going to have rankings at the end of the year. We are going to have people going to Russia. We are bringing a team. And I said, and I remember O did, we are going, who, and Clay too, who else is with us? Who wants to go? And my email and phone was exploding with how do we go? What do we need to do? So we wrote up all about getting a visa and all the things that now you can't do, but you
right,
could do at the time. And so many people were interested. And then they had to qualify. And the qualifying process was the top three in the season rankings in your weight class would get invited first. And then we had people like Adam Glass coming out of the woodwork. Hey, I want to participate. We had Tanner Merkel come. Oh, who is this guy? And then that's when it really started to grow because we had those guys lift at the Arnold in 2019, which obviously, as you remember, it was much different than this year's Arnold, but it was still
right.
quite a collection of
Oh yeah,
super talented men and women. Unbelievable.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And that meet was just a precursor. I think really the Arnold in 2019 was a precursor for what's to come. And I just recently, Eric, recovered recordings of that Arnold that were saved a long time ago. Well, that were taken and saved, and I'm going to put them on our YouTube channel shortly so that whether it was a competitor or fans or new people who want to see what we were doing then and compare it to now, the whole thing is recorded. So I think we have some decent footage of the Arnold in 2019. So that's going to be put up shortly on the YouTube.
Okay, very excellent. That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing that I've noticed over the years, I guess quite since the early days around the USA, is I do think it has been a good idea to move away from, because I would say, especially in the initial time, it was very thick bar heavy, which
Yeah.
was great for people like me. I'm a thick bar specialist, so I had no issues with it. But I feel like as the years progress, the events have become more varied and a better you know, a better representative of overall grip. So I really think that that's been a nice evolution to watch happen. So I'm very happy about that.
Well, my introduction to grip was going into Ode's garage gym, which was a four-car garage at the time. And we were doing a Pollen's axle and we were pulling it off blocks. So standing on the blocks. Ode was flexible enough at that time to stand on blocks. He was maybe in his early 60s at that time. And I remember pulling a Pollen's axle that didn't have collars, like the spin locking collars that Ode is so fond of. But I remember pulling 150 kilos standing on the blocks and Martine's failing at that. And Martine's was like 18 or 19.
Okay.
And I had neither did Ode, neither did anyone, had no idea that this kid, teenager, was going to become what he is today. But I remember just beating him like it was nothing. And now, and realizing now, and then Ode played with the inch dumbbell afterwards and did his normal thing. But that was my introduction to grip. It was all thick bar. It was all Rolling Thunder and Axle because
Right.
that's what Ode's favorites are. So, which they still are kind of my favorites. I think the single-handed rolling lifts are my best lift for myself personally. But I agree with you that the evolution of arm lifting, it has to be what I call a complete examination of the grip. And
Right.
the now we're including a round, a rectangle, and a vertical lift at each of the major contests. I think that's a much more competent way to assess who the best at arm lifting really is.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and some people one is a strength, some people another's a strength, and now everyone knows what they have to work on. There's no surprises. The events might look a little different, but they're still all deadlift based, and it's um it takes away a little bit of maybe a big hand dominance or something. It spices it up a little bit, which I think is the whole point.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, look, Eric, I could talk to you all day about this, right? I could talk for hours about this, but I think that's all the time we have for today. So maybe the next time we'll talk a little more about 2019 and the build up to the 2019 APL World Championships, and then maybe into the pandemic or something else. But um, thank you for taking the time to interview me and to share what we both love with the audience at hand. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Ricardo. Anytime.
All right, Eric. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.
All right.